Siemka, witam wszystkich. Ja jestem Darius. Zajmujemy się na farmie Rowdenfield Farm. Jest to Training Education, czyli przeprowadzają tutaj treningi i edukacje odnośnie poruszania się pojazdami rolniczymi. Za mną opryskiwarka podłączona do John Deere'a, ale dzisiaj będzie kombajn. Także jeśli chcecie zobaczyć, interesuje Was, jak to wygląda tutaj przeprowadzony taki trening, to zapraszam do obejrzenia. Mam nadzieję, że spodoba się. Na razie.
Putting the header on and off then. So it's up on its trailer, yeah? So you obviously drive the front of your combine through the hole in the header, push your button in the cab to lift this up. So you've got the huge hydraulic cylinders underneath, and that lifts that up. So you lift the header clear of the trailer, and then what we've got here is all of our hydraulic connections and our electrics are all on that single dock, and that plugs into there like that. So when you pull the handle to lock that on, not only does it lock that on, but if you look underneath, the pin comes out,
I see.
and one comes out the other side, and that locks the header on and stops the header falling back off once you've picked it up. And then the only other thing you've got to connect is that PTO shaft. So it lives up there on when you're transporting it on the header, and then you just line up the splines on there, pull the collar, and it locks on like that. So 1, 2, job done. It's really quick.
Fast.
So you know, sometimes if you're in smaller fields as well, you might have to take the header on and off 3 or 4 times a day. So you want it to be a quick process. So yeah, really quick to do that. Okay, if we come round this side. But as you can see, it's not too bad under here really, because one of the things you've got to do is blow all the ledges off every day.
Yeah, because
otherwise they catch fire.
You catch fire.
So the engine's up on the top. That big square lump there, that is the main drive gearbox that drives all your threshing components and your header. So if you look, there's a big drive shaft comes out the end of that, and that runs down through a guard, and then when it gets to the front, all the drives split out and separate off of that. The only ones that don't come off of that big shaft on the front is this belt drive here for your unloading auger. And that pulley at the top runs all the time. But what happens is most of the time the belt is slack. So when you want to unload, there's a hydraulic cylinder there, and this arm goes down to tension the belt up, and that creates drive to the unloading auger. When you turn it off, the pressure goes out that cylinder, and the spring pulls that arm back up, and the belt goes slack again. So that pulley's running all the time. The other thing that's running all the time is this belt down to your chopper.
Yes, because it must be running all the time.
Yeah, but you can disconnect it at the bottom, so the chopper's not actually going round. You just put mesh 2 sprockets together, and that's it. The lump on the back then, so that is the hydraulic pump that is actually driving the wheel motor that's powering the wheels. So you see the massive pipes coming down that go to the front axle there. Okay. We also talked about the return system. So you know, if stuff's too big to go through that bottom sieve, that elevator takes it back up right to the beginning. So there's a chain in there with like rubber paddles, and literally it gets pulled across to the side, it takes it up and it chucks it back into that threshing drum. It gets a second chance to go through the system. The other thing we got on here, so there's 3 of these on here, and it's greasing charts. So this is a picture of this side of combine, the other one on the other side is a picture of the other side of the combine, and then you've got one on the back of the header there as well. So it tells you where all the greasing points are on the combine, then a sort of a picture of where it is and what it looks like, and then how many hours between each greasing you've got to do it. So the red ones, your 10-hour ones, that's your daily ones. So you see there's only a couple on this side. So the daily one, there's not a lot. So greasing's not too bad on this machine, to be honest. It's not something that you're doing all the time. Right, so let's shut that one down. Right, so if you come round the back here, and if you just mind your head, we can duck in up inside, just sort of mind everything that we got here, and you can look down and see your sieves. So this is the sieves Okay, so the one we're looking at here is the top sieve. There's another one the same size as that underneath, which is your bottom sieve. The one up the step there is called the pre-sieve. So what the pre-sieve does is, because it's closer to the fan, gets a lot more air blast through it. 20% of your grain, you can get rid of it through that pre-sieve, and that'll go straight to the tank. That then puts less pressure on your top and your bottom sieves, and that does the sort of final sieving. So the electric motors on the back, that adjusts the clearance between them fingers. So the sort of the gap according to the size of the seed that you're actually trying to clean, basically. And then these green plates here transfer the chaff and rubbish onto the spreader plates, so they'll spread it out full width for the combine. And see the sort of little grey rectangular plates on the end there? So they are actually loss sensors. So they will detect grain if it's being lost over your sieves, and then you get a reading up in the cab.
All right.
Okay. And then above your head are your straw walkers. So your 6 straw walkers. And if you look, they're on a cranked shaft.
Yeah.
So that gives them that walking movement. Yeah. And if you look up through, can you see the sort of the cutaway and the grating on the top? So the straw will sit on top of the grating, but the grain, the loose grain, can fall down through the hole, and it will basically get on that slide to the pre-sieve and start its way up through the sieves.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's your final separation.
Separation.
Yeah. So the tubes going up there are to sensors. So again, we've got sensors the same as that on the end of them, and they're detecting if you're losing grain over the back with the straw. So again, you get a reading in the
also
cab.
you got the warning regarding that.
Yeah. And then obviously straw comes down over the back here, or if you want to chop it, you push that handle that way, so this plate will fold over, and then there's a hole there, and it will go out through your chopper instead. So you can see your chopper that spins on that rotor, and it works against the fixed blades. You can adjust the speed of that and how far them fixed blades come in or out. So you can have a really aggressive fine chop, or if you don't want to chop it quite so much, you can slacken it off a bit. The thing is, if you are having a really fine chop, that uses a hell of a lot of horsepower and a lot of diesel. So you just got
extra power taking.
Yeah.
So from your farm, are you using the straw anyway?
We don't use it ourselves because we're all arable, but there's a lot of dairy farms and that in the area. So what we do is we sell it off the field.
Sell it, yeah.
So we don't really chop anything.
Is anyone chopping?
Not really. no.
Because you got the money from the straw.
It's worth it's worth good money.
Yeah.
Camera on the back.
Yeah.
So
reversing.
So you can see behind. Yeah. When you're chopping as well, this folds down.
And
so again,
spread it out.
Yeah, that spreads it out. They're also electrically adjustable, so they pivot from that point. But you can see they're in a slotted hole. So there's an electric motor. So if you've got a crosswind, you don't want to blow all the chopped stuff into the standing crop, so you can divert it away.
Right. Okay.
So you got that on there as well.
Is when you're chopping the straw, is any kind of the stage of fertilizing, or just nothing benefit from?
I mean there is a benefit from putting that back into the ground. You've got organic matter going in there and some nutritional value and stuff like that. We tend to get our organic matter in from different methods. So we get the caked sewage sludge from Wessex Water in Bristol. So that's quite a good source of nutrients. There's also an AD plant locally, so the sort of the digestate out the back of that goes onto the ground as well. So rather than the straw going back on, we've got other sources that we can use. But it is a way up between the nutritional value and how much the stuff's worth.
That's right. Yes,
if that makes sense. Yeah. So on this combine, then the whole side here opens up as an access platform to the back of the machine, and then you've got like a slide down ladder. So I mean, do you want to go up? I mean,
yeah, why not?
Yeah. So just treat it like a ladder, holding onto it, and then come down, like you would on a ladder, basically. So your fuel tank's up on the left here. So it sort of goes down behind the steps and then underneath your radiator pack.
So that is 800?
800 litres, And then inside this sealed box is all your radiators.
Filters. With the filters?
So this is just your radiator.
Oh, so just radiator.
Yeah, so this is all your cooling package really to keep all the different components cool. So the top bit's the intercooler for your turbos. That's your like hydraulic one. That's your engine one, and then you got various other ones. You know, one for your aircon and stuff like that.
How often do you need to do it? One day job and
what cleaning?
Yeah.
I mean, I always have a look in there every day.
Yeah.
But they stay fairly clean because the idea in them being in this sealed box is you've got this screen on the front, which obviously rotates. It's got a belt on it.
Oh.
And it's got a brush on there. So as that's spinning round,
self-cleaning.
It brushes all the chaff and rubbish off. But that's also a vacuum cleaner. So as it brushes it, it sucks all the rubbish off. And then there's a sort of an exhaust port underneath, so it chucks it all down underneath. And that is dealing with trying to keep all that clean. So that does quite a good job. So that they don't clog up too bad. You know, occasionally you get a bit of stuff on there, but not a lot. And then come up here. So what you can do from this point is you can actually look down on your straw walkers, so you can see them from the top. Yeah. That's your air filter in there for your engine. So again, that's drawing air through that closed box. So all the big stuff gets taken out. So it's just the fine stuff really. And then under the cover there is obviously your engine. So your two turbos on there, and you can see it's piped off rain through the intercooler. And then there's your inlet, that's your exhaust side of the engine. But I mean, for a big 9-litre engine, it's quite compact really. It fits in there quite nicely, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So that is your threshing drum drive, and that's how you vary the speed, right, via them pulleys there. Clean grain elevator, so all that clean grain that's gone through the sieves augured across into this, and again that is a chain running inside there with rubber paddles, and that's what's moving everything up into you can see the bottom of your tank there. And then you got your other diagram for the grease into this side. And then your Hillmaster system, so you know I said it levels side to side. You've basically got a great big hydraulic cylinder, so it's mounted at the back and then mounted to the final drive on the front axle. And if you sort of look through here, so the final drive pivots from that point, look. So that's the centre of the wheel. So as that pivots that round, that lifts the wheel up and lifts that side of the combine up, if you see what I mean. Does the same on the other side too.
Yeah, nice.
And then on your header, so it automatically tracks the ground, what you've got is these sprung plates. So there's two of them, and they run from the back of the header to the front of the header. They're like banana shaped like that. And basically, as they go along the ground, and the ground's like pushing them up and down, that tells the computer to lift the header up, down, left or right to maintain that even cutting height. Some of the really big wide headers that you got now, you know, the ones with the belts and that we were talking about, because they're so wide, they're actually running on wheels on the back.
Yes, they use the wheels.
But the smaller headers like this, they're running on these sensors that are like following the ground contours. You want to climb on board first. When we're going, if you want to stand over by the fence, just we know where you are then.
Come on, stand here just as long as you're
still. When we're still here, that's fine. That little pedal there will release your steering wheel, and you can sort of bring that in wherever you want. It's height adjustable as well, but you know. So like so if you get it in the right place, the height bit is done by unscrewing the middle.
Unscrewing it goes up.
So sort of wherever you fancy it, really.
Yeah.
Happy there?
It's not like in the car.
No, that's right. No. Yeah, right. So if you turn the key once to put the ignition on, and then you've got to hold it round till it starts. It cranks quite a lot before it starts. There's a big old engine, so just listen for it starting. So if you turn the turn and hold, there we go. Yeah. Right. So up here, bit like your dashboard on your car. So you've got your fuel gauges, that's your engine RPMs, and that is your forward speed in kilometres an hour. It also tells us that our park brake's on at the moment. Now we have got 3 speeds that we can put it in, 1, 2 or 3, but we'll leave it in 1 for what we're doing. So the P, if you press that, park brake's off.
Yeah, so
push it again, it comes on. Simple as that. This bit here, that's for your auto header. So, you know, floating on them.
Yeah.
That only works when the combine's running, like harvesting basically. The header's manual for safety reasons until you start harvesting. And then these are your loss monitors. So you know we looked at them sensors in the back if you're losing grain.
Yeah.
So that one tells you if you're losing grain over the sieves. That one tells you if you're losing grain over your straw walkers. And then the middle one is the total of the 2.
Okay.
So it gives you a total picture of losses in the middle. But the outside one, so you can see where it's coming from, if you see what I mean.
So is it numbers or just
no, it's like, so you see like these white
the white lights, yeah.
So it comes up like that basically, yeah. And then that one there, so you know that return elevator I showed you on the side for returning stuff back to the beginning, that tells you how much stuff is going back round back as well.
All right, so this is all knowledge how the process is going on.
Yeah. So obviously, if this is glowed right up, you're losing a lot of grain out the back. So what you need to do is slow down.
Slow down, yeah.
Again, that one, if that's filled right up, you've got way too much going around the returns. So what that probably means is you're either not threshing it out properly in the first place, so you've got a lot of unthreshed material going back round, or you've got that bottom sieve shut up so tight that the clean grain can't get through it, and you're sending clean grain back through. But then you can get grain damage because it's rattling all round through the system again, and it starts smashing it all up. So you want to run that fairly low with like 2 or 3 lights, nothing more than that.
Nothing.
No. Right. So that's your combine settings page.
Yeah. So
on here, threshing drum speed. The clearance between that threshing drum and that concave underneath, so that's at 18 mil at the moment. Pre-sieve, top sieve and bottom sieve settings again in millimetres, and then that will be the fan speed that's blowing the air up through them as well. Even tells you the angle on your chopper vanes on the back. Okay, so while you're going along, that will give you moisture content in real time.
Okay.
It'll also give you how many tons a hectare the crop is yielding in real time as well. Then when you get to the end and lift your header up to turn round, it then tells you the average for your field. Okay, so if you pull into a new crop, you go into the little arrow, and then you go into the combine settings tab. That then brings up John Deere's book setting. So winter wheat is the setting at the moment, look. So the blue figures are what John Deere recommend for winter wheat. Now they're pretty rubbish, to be honest with you. Okay. So you can fiddle about with the settings manually. So say like you want to do your concave clearance, if you have a look, that picture matches that, you push that button, you then get a pop-up on the screen, so you're like, right, okay, let's
do adjustments.
Open it up a little bit. So we open it up, and what it does, if it's going up, it will go up a bit further to make sure there's no blockages in it, and then it will close itself back down to the number. So it's now set on 24. Look. Okay. The other thing you can do is, if you've got it all set up and you think, well, that's really good setting, you can then store settings. So if you look, I've got a load of settings stored in here.
Right.
And then I can bring them up at any time. So if I wanted to set the combine up according to that, start all the thresher up, start all the header up, rev it up to full revs, and then press accept, it would then set everything up according to that, and you're ready to go. So that's quite handy. This one here, so this is for our precision farming. So you can put all your information in there, including your field. You'll then get your field map come up, your field size come up. So this is where we are at the moment. Look, so out in this field, the pink boundary is the field boundary. You need to put in all your equipment like information, so the GPS knows where it is in relation to the rest of the machine. Documentation, so this is where you say what crop you're cutting. So if you go change harvest settings, you can go in, pick from your list of crops. You can say what variety the crop is and give it a load of other information if you wish to. And then the totals page, that gives you all that information whilst you're going along. So total moisture, total tonnage cut, the average throughput, the fuel use, the time worked, the area worked, so all of that is on there.
So it will help for the future.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Mapping, so that yield map I showed you on the screen there, your yield map colours in while you're going up and down, so you can see how the field's performing. And then that's your guidance page. It's a bit like on Farm and Sim, really. It's going to follow that up and down the field.
Yes, so all the setup, how the field looks, and all yield. Yeah. So it's set up by GPS. So it's a company who come here and do the all setup, because that must be drove, or how?
No, so we've been running John Deere GPS since 2008, so quite a long time now. And basically, when we first had it, when we had it on one of our tractors, you get the receiver on the roof that picks up the satellite signal, and then the screen in the cab, and you basically drive around the outside of your field, and that will log that boundary. You can then store that under that field name, and you can share that then between all your vehicles, and you just use them boundaries year on year.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and then your guidance lines. So I set them up when I plant a field. And then every operation we do works in parallel to that throughout the year. So you know, your spraying, your fertilising, and even the harvesting is all running up and down in the same direction. Obviously on multiples of whatever width you're working with at the time.
Yeah.
So all you do when you first go out to set a line, you drop an A point, drive up the field a little way and drop a B point, and the screen will draw a straight line between the two. And then of course the only other information it needs is how wide your implement is on your machine.
Yeah, because it's quite different between the harvester and the sprayer.
Yeah, exactly. So like we said, this is running. So I normally have this set on about 7.5 metre working width. And the sprayer runs on a 24 metre working width. So you just plumb that in, and then it spreads the lines out the right width, and then that can then follow then up and down the field basically.
Does he drive alone?
So
when you set up this system?
So once you've set it, the steering is done for you, so it'll steer itself up the field. You're still in control of the speed according to your gauges. Like I said, the ones that John Deere are bringing out next year have got AI technology on. So what they will do is they'll control the speed, or all them threshing systems as well on the move. But what the operator normally does is you'll normally adjust to stuff that's already happened, because you can't see it until it's happened. What this new system's going to do, because it's got cameras that are looking out at the crop in front,
pretend what's going on.
And is using the satellite imagery of the crop in front as well. It will preempt what it needs to do and adjust itself and alter its speed before it actually gets there.
Okay, so the human will be sitting and just checking,
not having to do anything. Whereas at the moment, I've still got to do everything manually, other than the steering that will do itself.
You think that would be a good idea? It would be very helpful.
Yeah, probably. Like I said, what they're saying is even the best operator cannot run these at 100% efficiency over a 12-hour day.
Yeah, try, because you get
tired,
tired,
and you know things happen.
All about
so the idea being that you've got this computer here, and you know, if you've got a lot of acres to get over with one combine, it's going to get the maximum capacity out of that combine 100% of the time.
Yeah, all right, so that makes sense.
But whether it actually works or not, I don't know, because I've not seen it yet. Apparently there's going to be a few kicking around for like demos this harvest. But so what we're going to do then is, first of all, I'm just going to get you to drive this thing around the track, just so you can get used to how the thing goes and stops, and also how it steers, because they obviously steer on the rear wheels. Yep. So first thing we need to do is lift the header up. So header controls on here, so up, down, left and right. So if you push the top of that one, then you keep your thumb on it, and it'll go up, and it'll stop when it gets to the top, basically.
And this is driving position.
Yeah. Right, so next thing you need to do then is release your parking brake, which is that one there. Yep, so the light's gone out there. And then these three buttons are your engine revs. So that's idle, that's medium speed, and that's full speed. So if you put it in medium to start off with, and then basically you probably know this from the game, but you pull that out and you push that forwards, and that starts you going forwards. The more you push it, the faster you go. But if you pull it back, it'll stop. So you don't need to use your feet at all.
All right, okay.
And
so the pedal is for
emergencies.
Emergency.
I've only ever had to use them a couple of times on the road if I needed to stop really quick. But out in the field, you don't really ever need to touch your brakes, to be honest with you. So when you're ready, if you have one hand on there, one hand on the steering wheel, and you can sort of see. Yeah. The other thing, like, we can bring up our rear camera, so you can sort of see the fence behind and everything. So yeah, all we're going to do is just drive a nice sort of gentle loop around the circuit. Because it's quite a big machine to be in control of, isn't it? So the sort of centre of your machine is sort of in the middle of that section there. The cab's not actually in the middle, and you're not actually sat in the centre of the machine, if you see what I mean. You're sort of sat slightly to one side.
So the real middle is where there's the yellow side.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And the yellow bit and the white bit must be where you line up when you're connecting the header. It just gives you a bit of a guide as to where you need to be, sort of thing. Again, simple, but it works.
It works. Same like a strap on the steering wheel.
Yeah.
So when you drive and the road is flat, but the edges is quite higher than the road, there's a sensor that warn you, or you need to know about that when you drive with the header?
For your header?
Yeah.
So, like I said, when your header's down, it'll follow the contours anyway.
Yes, but when it's in this position, driving position.
When it's in this position, it just sits there. But to be honest, you know, it's up fairly high anyway, so it shouldn't really hit anything. And if you're going down the road or anywhere narrow, it's on the trailer. It's not on here, so it's not a problem. Pull that stick back to the middle then.
Yeah.
All the way back to a stop. Yeah. And then if you put your revs back.
Here?
Yeah. And then your parking brake on. Right. So, yeah. You're happy with driving it, stopping it, going around corners. That's good. Yeah. So what we're going to do now then is set this thing up as if you were actually going to be harvesting with it. I mean, we got the weather for it, but you just got to pretend you've got a crop there. Yeah. Right, so first thing you're going to do if you're going to go harvesting is you've obviously got to open your lids. Yeah. Do you have to do that in the game? Do you have to open your grain tank?
Yes, before you start you need to set up the harvester, so it's open all the stuff, yes.
So with this one, obviously it's down flat for transport, but you can't actually go cutting with it shut, it's got to be open. So what you do is, if you push that little button there once, it then takes you straight to the folding screen. So what you do is you've got to put your finger on that touchscreen button, but you've got to keep your finger on it. And it's a safety feature basically, whereby somebody's got to be in here with a finger on the button while it's actually moving, because otherwise you just flip the button and go and get up there and get tangled up in it. So if you keep your finger on that, and if you look, you can actually sort of see it, the light opening up. So you just basically hold that until it stops moving and it's fully folded up. So we've got an auger that's folding up in the middle there, and that joins up to that elevator that we looked at from down the bottom. So it goes up the auger and fills up from the top then. Okay.
Is not? Or is it full?
Yeah, that's right up like that.
Okay, no, because I always see the screw is on the middle. I thought.
Yeah, no, that's where it's that auger. Look,
that's for auger.
As long as that is folded right up into that curved plate, which it is, that's fully up. That's as far as it goes.
Okay, and how often you need to clean the tank? Every after job or?
Not really, because it pretty much empties itself right out. So, you know, unless you're like want to get in there and clean every last bit out, normally you just empty it right out in the trailer, and then you're just ready to carry on. So you don't,
because most jobs do the bottom stuff. Where the grain is quite clean.
It all goes down to the bottom, then moves it all out. And especially with your hill master, if you tip it one way, it all runs down one side, and you can get it all out. Normally, just it's the end of the season. You get in there and just clean it all out. So the other thing we got in there is the silver box. That's your moisture meter. So that is taking a sample of grain and telling you what the moisture is. And then it's just a little plunger in there that pushes it back into the tank when it's taking a reading. So it takes a sample every 30 seconds, and it will tell you the moisture obviously in real time as you're going along. So
just in case to stop and wait.
Yeah, because if you want to store it, so all the big sheds there are storage. If you want to store it long term, it's got to be below 15% moisture for like wheat and barley and stuff. If it's not, it starts heating up and going mouldy, and then it gets bugs in it and stuff. So yeah, you can see that in real time. So you can then make a decision like, are we going to carry on cutting if it gets damp? Because we've got a dryer in there, so you can dry it if you need to. But obviously, more diesel, more money, and everything.
True.
So if it's going to stay like this, it's like, well, why would you cut it if it's wet? Just let it dry out a bit more and then cut it.
Yeah,
so
you know, you're going for the field and trying. You're waiting for that day. It's right. Okay, like a fire brigade. Go on.
Yeah. So that's what we do. We go out there. We got one of these little manual ones that you can test it with. So the other thing we got to do is activate our Hillmaster system.
Okay.
So to do that, over here you push that button once, and you'll get an orange light come on. So if you do that now, and then you need to keep your thumb on that button. So just push that and keep hold of it. And then it will say release the parking brake, which I've done for you. Now keep your thumb on it, and what it will do is it will completely raise the left hand side of the combine.
Okay.
Okay. Go keep thumb on it.
Okay.
Until it stops. Just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. So it's quite a lot of adjustment.
It is.
Yeah. So now if you let go, it will bring itself up to the middle. So what we were folded down flat like that for transport. So what it did is it brought one side right up, but then when it gets there, it brings that side up, but that side down, so they're in the middle position.
All right.
So we've gone from there to there. So but you've got to do that to activate it. So when it's in the middle position, then obviously it's got travel both ways for the hill, and that is fully automatic now. So now that's set, we haven't got to touch it. It will do it on its own. So if you just put your header down a little bit, not all the way down, but just down a little bit from what it is. Yeah, that'll do that. Right, what we're going to do now then, start this bad boy up. So to start your freshen system up on this one is your yellow switch there. So you push it down and then flick it forwards and it'll lock into place. Right, so now look, freshen drum speed, fan speed, that's all come to life.
All right.
Yeah, so your sieves will be shaking, the fan will be blowing air up for it, all that, all them drums inside will be going round and everything. Yeah, straw walkers will be doing that.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, you can feel the movement, can't you? Yeah. Normally when you're going along and you've actually got crop going through it, you don't get so much movement like that, if you see what I mean.
Oh yeah, because there was a
at the moment everything's empty, and
yes, that's right. Yeah, it's more.
Yeah, right. If you do the same with that one, so down and click it forward, that will start your header up and your elevator underneath us here. So you can see that now doing its thing. You see the elevator spinning around through the gap as well there? Yeah. So that's all going. So when you're harvesting, you need to run the engine flat out. So that is that one there. Now we got some power going on there. Yeah, I feel that. You can feel it, can't you? Yeah. And you know, if I open the door,
yeah, it is.
It actually is fairly quiet.
Yeah, it is.
Compared to what's going on outside. Amazing, really.
Yeah, it is amazing.
Right, so
especially as a glass one.
yeah. But you know, you've got brilliant visibility of your header, haven't you, from up here? You can see the whole length of it. Now your header's running then, your auto header functions will work. So you've got 1, 2 and 3. Okay. So 1 lifts it on the headland, so you can turn. 2 drops it down to your work height. 3, you can actually have a second like lower setting if you've got any flat crops, so you can go down lower.
Depends on the field.
Yeah. So if you push 2, what it will do is it will go down and it will then level itself out according to the grade. The oil's all cold in it at the moment, it's taking a bit of time to react. It's getting there, but normally that happens really quickly. Once we've done that a few times, it will speed up. So if you hit button number 1 a minute, that does your lift up at your headland. Right. So I don't have it all the way up when I'm turning around, just enough to clear the rows of straw, because otherwise it's a long way to go back down, isn't it? So to adjust your headland height, literally that dial there, if you click it that way, you see it going up? If you click it the other way.
Oh, okay, so manual.
So that sets the height, and now every time you press that button, it will go back to that height. If you click button number 2 again now, then to go down to your cutting height. So again, once you're going along, you can click that button and that'll set your actual cutting height. So at the moment it's on just above 200 mil up. Normally when I'm cutting out in the field, I'll be on like 40 or 50, so a lot lower, but because we're going round here, we'll leave it fairly high. So if you take your parking brake off then, and then again, what we're going to do is we're going to get you to do another circuit round the track. So what this is going to do, this is going to be the outside of our field. When you've done the outside, we're then going to do the middle of our field. And what you'll find happens is it will start colouring in the bits that you've done. So a bit like on Farming Sim where you can see what bits you've done, it will do that on here. So if you set off forwards then, on your gauges. This one here monitors the amount of power you're using from your engine. So see, just going along and running everything, we're on about quarter power before we've got any crop in the machine.
And the crop is taking more power as well. So usually it's up on the edge of the green, on the yellow, when you're full up. And if it goes into the red, that means you've run out of power and you need to slow down, basically. So you see it started colouring in, because it thinks that we're actually cutting now. You see, as it goes to that hump, you just see it lift up and react to that. So it's constantly, like I said, tracking the ground, adjusting itself to maintain that cutting height for you. So you see it flicked up there over that like hump. Quite nice, isn't it? I find it quite therapeutic sitting in here just watching all this going on. Especially the first time. I try to see the screen, how it's leveling the header.
Moving the header about, so you can see all that going on.
The power.
The power. And like I said, if we were going along as well, we'd have our loss monitor and our returns monitors along the bottom. They would be reading as well. So we'd be keeping an eye on that. Of course, you're constantly monitoring your header, looking for nice, like even feed of the material coming in as well. You're also monitoring the contents in your grain tank to make sure you've just got that clean grain in there, no rubbish and that. Because you might need to make some adjustments because of that.
So it's quite a lot of things you need to do monitoring.
So I said that's why they're introducing this AI to do a lot of this monitoring for you. They used to have a thing that would control the speed
but it did it according to the loading on the threshing drum. But again, a lot of the time it would react too late because, you know, it had already happened by the time it adjusted the speed. And you find you go into a light patch of crop and it would just speed like right up, and then it'd hit a tough patch, and by the time it reacted and slowed down, it had blocked. So it wasn't quite there. But having this, like I said, facility to be able to actually, like, you know, look ahead at what's going on,
Pretend.
yeah, that's probably going to help. Right, so if you pull your stick back to the middle then, and then hit your button number 1 to lift your header up. So what we're now going to do is, if we turn our auto track on, so what we're going to get you to do, so you see we've got the lines running that way. So if you sort of steer off left, up that way, so you're facing that way. So we're sort of heading for that green line really.
On green?
Yeah.
Not white?
No, not white. Yeah, so start steering now actually, because by the time you get round, so in a minute that green line will sort of turn a light blue colour. As soon as he turns light blue, let go of your steering wheel, hit your auto steer button, so let go of the steering wheel, that's it, and then hit button number 2. Right, so don't steer, because what it's going to do is it's going to steer for you.
Alright.
So now you've activated your auto steer, it's going to bring itself round onto the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. And line itself up.
Okay, so this is the system what the farming simulator implements this year in the game.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've been running this, like I said, for it's not actually, I think you might have accidentally touched the steering wheel, because that is your override.
Yeah, it is.
So if we, yeah, there we go. So that's now on. So if we, yeah. So now look, it's following the line exactly. So that is your accuracy in that green box. That's how far it's drifting off the line either side. So it's within a few centimetres basically. And obviously as the grain moves, the combine's constantly reacting to that to keep it straight.
Yeah, it's quite nice. It's clever, yeah.
So can you see how it's shutting the header down as you go across the bit you've already done?
Yeah.
So when you get to the end, you hit button number 1, and then you manually take over steering. So if you miss out the blue line, because you won't get round because it's too tight, and again head towards the next green line.
The next green line, yeah.
As it comes round, you're going to hit your auto steer button. So hit that now.
Now?
Yeah, and your button number 2 to drop your header down. Now normally, see, I do 3 times round the outside of the field first, so you'd have a big wide area to turn on. But you haven't got a lot of room to do that here.
Yeah, sometimes it's very tight.
But it gives you sort of an idea of how the system works. See, that's now on its line, nice and straight, following down.
Yeah, in a game that monitors doesn't work at all, so it's just a
it's just a display. Yeah, you can't do anything
because everything you've got on the field. So the marks.
Yeah, so basically these screens on the tractors and the combine, you're setting everything up on them. So again, when you get to the sort of blue bit you've cut, which is your headland, you hit button number 1, which will lift your header up. Right. So what we'll do this time is we'll go up that blue line. So what you'll probably have to do is go round and reverse back a bit, put in a bit of a shunt to get on it, because you won't get round in one, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if you reverse back and steer the other way,
wide now.
Yeah, that's right. So if you now head up towards that, again, you could probably hit your auto steer button now, to be honest with you, and it will pick up that line. So let go your steering wheel, hit your auto steer, yeah, and then hit your button number 2, which will drop your header back down. So you feel it actually, it's still steering us onto the line.
It's not.
But in a minute,
it will be. Yeah.
When it's on there, you'll find that it exactly matches up to that last one that you did. Yeah, it's a bit difficult out here because you haven't got much room to turn, but you said out in the field when you've gone round 3 times, you've got plenty of space. There we go, look, that accuracy's coming down, look, it's nearly bang on now, look. So it should fill in that gap, look, perfectly.
Nice.
Yeah. So this time when you get to the end then,
so this is the speed of the...
Yeah. Which is quite quick actually when you're in it, isn't it? You think what's going on.
Yeah. In bigger the machine, you feel more speed.
Right, so if you hit your button number 1 again then, and then we're going to turn left and go on to that final blue line. So hard left. So hit your auto button. Hit button number 2. Yeah. So that one there tells you when your grain tank's full, that little hopper picture.
Yeah.
So when that's full, you get a warning on the screen and the beacons come on.
Okay.
You then hit that button, so push that and click that all the way in.
So over is going
and that'll, yeah, go on, do it now. Push him over. So if you look in the mirror, see your unloader coming out, you get a little warning on there that it's unfolding. Yeah. And it will come right forwards. And then when your trailer's underneath, you hit your yellow button, so hit that. That then engages it. Yeah. And then you keep going until that's completely empty, and then you hit your yellow button again to turn it off, and then that button, and that'll fold it back up. Yeah. Right, so if you hit button number 1 again when we get to the end, and what we're going to do is turn left back onto the track. That's it, so if you pull your joystick back to the middle. Right, so shut your engine revs back on that one.
Brake?
Yep. Right, so to turn your header off, you flick that one back. Right, so we've just let that slow down a minute. So if you get a blockage, what you can do is press that, and that will emergency stop your header.
Alright, so now it's not hazard lights.
No, that is emergency stop for your header if you get a blockage. But what it also does is, if you're unloading, it turns that off as well. So if the trailer driver doesn't notice you're stopped, you don't end up spilling any. So if you get a blockage, what you do is you push that one down and then hold it backwards, so it won't click into place. You've actually got to hold it. So if you do that and hold it back towards you, and just keep your finger. So can you see everything is now going the other way? So you can spit everything back down if it does block up. Now you can only reverse from the elevator down through the header. You cannot reverse any of the threshing system.
Nothing inside.
If you block that up,
so you need to
there's a 2.5 metre long spanner that goes on the end of that pulley, and you've got to wind it back by hand. It's
like
not fun.
Old cars.
Yeah, but thankfully, in the time we've had this combine, we've only ever had to do that once.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So if you flick that one, that'll turn your thresher off. Yeah. Right. So if you push that to lift your header right back up again. And then we can fold our hill master system back down. So remember that when you press for the orange button, if you hold that in now till that light starts flashing, so that one there, hold that light will flash in a minute. Okay, and that sort of means it's ready to fold down now. So again, if you
put your thumb on that middle button and just keep your thumb on it and hold it there, and
It's going
yeah. So this side of the combine's folding down, and then if you put your finger on the left-hand one, it will then fold the left-hand side of the combine down. But because the header's now in manual control, that doesn't adjust itself. That's why it's gone all wonky. So what you can do is push the right-hand side of that, and that will level it up. You've got your indicator obviously on the screen as well, so you know when it's got a little bit more. There you go. Oh, bit too far. Yeah. Yeah, it's quite sensitive, isn't it? There you go.
Yeah.
So that's level now. Yeah. And then the other thing we got to do obviously is fold the grain lids back down. So again, if you push that button there, and then you need to keep your finger on that button, or your thumb, or whatever you want, and that will basically fold the lids back down. And what I normally do, because that'll get dark in there in a minute, is in your mirror there, look, you can see the lids actually going down and see when they've gone completely flat. Yeah, like that. Cool. Right, so final task then, sir, is round the track and reverse it back to the parking position.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you take your parking brake off, put it back into medium revs. So how have you found that? You enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's quite, something new.
Yeah.
And it's
it's quite a lot of information.
Yes, that's the point.
Yeah. But hopefully you know a lot more about these machines now than
how
what
to
you
operate,
did before. So when you're on farming sim now using them, you'll understand a bit about how they actually really work.
The sitting here and feeling with your body, all that, the power.
That's the bit you don't get, do you?
Yeah, same like sim cars.
Yeah.
Using the steering wheel and racing the.
Yeah.
And that is.
So you say, are they going to do a sort of a similar joystick to this? Are they, like for farming sim at some point?
For PC, they are already done.
Right.
Yes. So you got one main one with all the buttons, and another one for the machines who are using both steering wheels with less buttons.
Yeah.
So Xbox got this year already, and PlayStation will have release end of the year.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's fairly realistic, isn't it? But you're still not going to beat the feel of the real thing, are you?
Yeah, same like you know the G-force in the racing car.
Yeah.
When I was in Mercedes-Benz and we used the NG63, I was passenger and I was the G-force over there inside. I was sweating like a pig.
Yeah. Yeah, the games are going, but then the other day I went to our local circuit and drove a Porsche round. That was an experience that I got for. And like driving the real thing, you just can't beat it, can you? Yeah, that's perfect there, like that. Thank you. So just stop it there. Yeah, parking brake on, revs back. And then if you just lower the header down gently, so don't put it right on the floor, but just let's just go up a fraction. Yeah, that's perfect like that. So if you put your foot on the pedal to release your steering column, and then just turn the key one click back towards you. There you go.